Brother, welcome back to The Missing Piece.
Thank you very much, Mr. Willis. It's always a pleasure.
Good, let's get started. Again, I want to ask the question that you and we discussed briefly before. US President Joe Biden just wrapped up one of the well-known summit and what he called a democracy summit. But meanwhile, despite how popular he believed or the entire administration advocated to spread democracy across the world, some countries were not invited. For example, China was not on the list. But meanwhile, it created this controversy that America may not be the best example to represent democracy today, and given this condition internally and externally. And a couple of days ago, you sent me an interesting article, and I want you to explain the content within this article and what was the attitude from Pakistan, and how about the reaction from Pakistan to this democracy summit. What can you tell us?
Yeah, Mr. Will, you see that very recently we have seen there is a friction between the diplomatic relationship between U.S. and China vis-a-vis U.S. and Pakistan. So we should see this summit on democracy in that perspective. Because the country which proclaims itself as the most king of democracy, but unfortunately we can't see that democracy on many fronts. So very recently we see that in this virtual summit on the democracy, Russia and China, first of all, like they were not there, and they were not invited in that summit. Talking about my country, Pakistan, which was, of course, invited for that summit, but we actually we didn't refuse it like in that plain way. We just refused it like you can say diplomatic language. We say that okay, this time we are not ready to discuss this democracy thing with you, but maybe later in the future we can discuss it. So this is the first time that in many Western newspapers, and many Western blogs, they are discussing that actually this refusal or the polite no on Pakistan part is actually somehow related with the absence of China in this diplomatic summit. Sorry, the summit for democracy. Why the world is correlating the Chinese absence with that of Pakistan? Why? Because very recently we have seen that in the context of this One Belt, One Road and the CPEC sort of thing, the Pakistan and China's diplomatic relationship, be it on the economic front, be it on the trade front, be it on the financial term, be it on the people-to-people contact terms, the relationship between these two neighbors are at the record high. So that's why, everybody is talking about the Pakistan's refusal, and they are correlating it with the Chinese absence. Yeah.
Brother, I want to press on what you just said, because again, for so long that not only Pakistan, but also, again, for the rest of the world, we used to believe that America was the ideal example for democracy. And a lot more countries, especially who were suffering politically or socially, they were longing for help, or they were anticipating this assistance from this country. But since recent election, again, let's not go back to the history of the election, but in America today, politically speaking, but also culturally speaking, people no longer believe that America was demonstrating what democracy was supposed to look like. So I want to ask you, from your perspective, what led to America deranged away from this concept, and why not that let's change our attitude, or why not let's shift our attention, not look at America, but let's look at another country might have a better representation of democracy?
Yeah, Mr. Will, I agree to your perspective. Actually, to some extent, it is true. You know, like in the gone are the days when the world was, thinking America as an ideal democracy. Gone are the days, because
Hmm.
then we very recently we have seen the Trump era, and we have seen that how brutally he has, let me use this harsh word,
Hmm.
how harshly he just altered the basic norms of democracy at the will of the people. So very recently we have seen that, that if the country is democracy, if the country is a truly democratic country, then the policies which are being taken at the upper front or at the highest level, they
Hmm.
must be very prudent, and they must be as per the true aspirations of the people. But we have seen that very recently in the previous term of the President Trump. Actually, we have seen that whatsoever were the policies of the U.S., majority of the U.S. population, they said that, oh, see, we have nothing to do with it. You
Hmm.
know, so, so what is the true definition of democracy? Then, government of the people, for the people, and by the people.
Hmm.
So, if any political system in a country, if it's not a truly representative of the aspirations of the people, then we can't say that it is a democratic system. Very recently, the world is, moving forward.
Hmm.
As in my country, my country has a democratic system. Pakistan has a democratic system, but
Hmm.
never ever we have said that we are following the so-called ideal democratic model of the U.S. No. So sometimes we have seen that the U.S. playing its role as a self-proclaimed so-called ideal model of democracy, but
Hmm.
not any other. For example, Russian Federation, a very big country, again a like it follows the electoral system. So, but it never follows the American system. If we
Hmm.
see the China, very emerging power, and many people, many scholars of the world, it is portraying it as the next superpower.
Hmm.
But never ever, China said that America has an ideal democracy, right? So it is actually just in the lines or in the literature, mostly developed by the Western publishing house. They portray some countries as a, ideal system of the governance. But if I wish that the true democratic system would have existed in the U.S. Then, fortunately, we couldn't see so many wars around the country, be it
Hmm.
Iraq, be it Libya, Afghanistan, so many places, you know. So yeah, so no system, no, like I don't agree at all with this notion that the U.S. has an ideal democracy.
Hmm.
No.
I think that's a very good explanation. Now, again, at the intro, I really asked the question. And also, I think when I asked that question on behalf of a lot of leaders in international communities, again, Kahoot, why is Pakistan on the side of China? Because, again, it's so, I guess for some other countries, it's rather difficult to grasp this concept. I mean, historically speaking, we know that Pakistan and China went all the way back as buddies, in terms of diplomatically, but also internationally. But right now, people are still asking a question: is what kind of deal does Pakistan get out of China by being the supporters or by being the advocate for the country? Was or is there anything that we don't know about these two countries?
Look, so many things, which everybody know. First of all, the historical perspective of the friendship of the China and Pakistan. Historically, we have been together on many fronts, be it the UN, be it the UN peace forces, at the time of natural calamities, being China earthquake, Pakistan earthquake. We've always, been very supportive of each other. And in early 70s, Pakistan were the country who actually broke, who actually played a key role of a mediator between the US and the China. And Mr. Bhutto, that time Prime Minister of Pakistan, he actually convinced the US then President Nixon to visit Beijing through Pakistan. So that's why Pakistan played actually a very crucial role in portraying China on the forefront, because before 1978 China were a closed country. We were the first country who actually recognized China after its independence. China was the first country who recognized Pakistan after our independence. So this was the historical perspective. Talking about the present times, Pakistan has been the signatory and the beneficiary of one of the very key infrastructure investment project, which is the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, which is the base, very true representative project of the One Belt, One Road initiative, which is now being portrayed as Belt and Road Initiative. So this is the actually one of the factor which actually binds Pakistan and China. Be it the financial aid, be it the economic cooperation, the people-to-people exchange. I'm the example in front of you, sitting in China from Pakistan. So about 30,000, I repeat, 30,000 Pakistani students have been, currently they are enrolled in different Chinese universities.
Wow.
So this is a huge number. So this is which makes China a very special country for us, because Pakistan has a huge youth bulge. More than 60% of our population is below 30 years of age. So this is which actually binds us together. And the very crucial thing which actually stimulates this friendship is the vision of the Chinese President Xi Jinping, which is about the shared prosperity. So this vision of shared prosperity is actually something which is very crucial for the developing country like Pakistan. And the second quality of this China-Pakistan, of this Chinese setup or system of governance is their policy of non-interference, that they don't interfere uselessly in others' matters. So that's what, which makes our relationship so special.
Now, brother, let's focus on economic perspective. I know you are currently working on your PhD in Shandong University. Of course, right now, again, as a Chinese national, I am proud to say that this is the prime time to really zero in or really understand how economic partnership play a significant role. But we know that so far, domestically speaking, Chinese economy, it's not picking up as the way we wanted. It's quite slow, owing to this pandemic or owing to many other reasons. So with that said, is if country as Pakistan or any other countries that around Southeast Asia look up to China and looking for help from China, but meanwhile China is progressing slowly, how does that benefit other countries? Won't that create more hurdles, or won't that create more obstacles for other countries to continue this economic partnership under Belt Road Initiative or any other capacity?
Yeah, I must say, in the present circumstances, this is the most pertinent question. In this backdrop of COVID-19, we have seen that globally, the economic growth at global level, it has been very much sluggish. Be it the very recently, we can see Turkish economy, like it is very much slower these days. You talk about Italian economy, even the US economy, so everywhere this sluggish trend of economic growth is evident. So the main factor is, that due to this COVID, the global value chain system has been disturbed, to unprecedented extent, which has actually contributed a lot in slowing down, as you said rightly, the economic growth of China. So talking about this Belt and Road Initiative, so this is like major chunk of this great grand infrastructure investment. Like it is about the investment in the connectivity, be it in the form of roads, be in the form of train network. We all know that, the freight trains are moving from China all the way to the London, crossing Europe, right? So same goes true for Pakistan. The great chunk of this infrastructure investment in Pakistan, it is linked with the road network, which has already been constructed. And the other thing is the ML1, which is actually the train infrastructure in Pakistan, which will be constructed by the Chinese railroad construction company, which is the global number one in terms of market capitalization, right? So in this way, it will help China to actually diversify its risk of this disturbance of the global value chain. And in the long run, it will give benefit to all the host countries of these investments of Belt and Road, and secondly to China, of course, because in that sense, its trade items will not be vulnerable only to the sea transport, and it can easily be moved. Like, for example, using Pakistan's land, China can easily trade with the Central Asian countries, and also with the Afghanistan, also with India. So yeah, there are a lot of opportunities actually. So this, we can say that this, like, pandemic has proven as a blessing in disguise in terms of this smooth running of the global value chain system in coming future.
That's a great observation. Now, brother, I want to share with you something that I just find out 2 days ago. In Southeast Asia, and there are a lot more countries who are heavily depending on this economic support from China. But meanwhile, specifically towards country in Southeast Asia, China not only that investing in terms of trade or imports and exports, but also China, it's helping this domestic or infrastructure. Let me give you one example. Right now today, as you and I were speaking, there is a train ride. Take this. You can actually get on the train from Kunming, the city of China, all the way to Laos, the country in Southeast Asia. Of course, that project cost billions of dollars, but the Chinese company or the Chinese facilities were implemented there in order to support this country in terms of domestic infrastructure or domestic economic growth. So briefly, brother, from your perspective, how does that benefit the countries in Southeast Asia? Or again, some people say, what will China get in return because China is helping countries as Laos, as Cambodia, as Vietnam, etc., implementing or even expanding those domestic infrastructure projects?
Yeah, actually, this is the fantastic example of how these huge infrastructure connectivity projects between these Belt and Road countries can help people-to-people contacts, to rise up at more and more levels, right? So first of all, the benefit is, that more and more knowledge sharing will be there. More and more Chinese people will be able to move. More and more people from these Southeast Asian countries can come to China. Secondly, the companies which do businesses, So as we have seen that all the ASEAN countries, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, they are very crucial when it comes to certain products. And so this connectivity through the rail network, actually, it will bring down the cost of traveling between these Southeast Asian nations, which will bring more and more people in and out of China. And secondly, it is very crucial for the movement of freight across the region. So in this sense, as I said earlier, the global value chains, mainly through the sea, which has been, very sluggish, and they were being very disturbed these days due to the ongoing pandemic, because it's not over yet.
That's right.
So through this freight network between and please mind it, this train network is not limited to Laos, and it will go further to the, as you mentioned, the country's name, and the map is in front of me, like to Cambodia, Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, and up to Singapore. So this leg will complete it as Singapore. So just imagine, that you're sitting in train and, you are just moving across these countries. So this will be a watershed moment for the new and fantastic development of this world, actually. And its benefits and its fruits won't only be limited to the China or these Belt and Road countries, but in the large context, I think such projects will be very beneficial for humanity at large as well.
Brother, I got one more question before letting you go. Again, so far what you shared with us has been extremely insightful and helpful. Now, the last question, the time really flew fast this year. We're coming all the way to almost the end of 2021. And looking back, not only diplomatically, but also internationally, that so many events happened this year that actually turned the table from one side to the other. And of course, that created conversations in many ways. So my last question I want to ask is, towards the end of the year, brother, where do you think China is headed in terms of economic partnership? Because right now, especially China with countries along with Southeast Asia, along with Middle East, and again, we send representatives to those countries in order to show support to others. But so from your perspective, economically speaking, if I may, where do you think China is heading next?
Yeah, in the coming year, at the very start of the coming year, China will host the Olympics, first Winter Olympics, then, Paralympics, Olympics. So I think that China is now increasing its participation in the global front, be it sports, be it trade, be it knowledge sharing. Don't forget, more and more Chinese universities now, they are being internationalized. So it means that Chinese share in the global knowledge sharing platforms will be manifold, and it will multiply in the days to come. Secondly, don't forget about this Belt and Road. It is an ongoing project, at least until 2049. So in the coming year, we will see more and more projects, as recently we mentioned about this train, the railroad connectivity. It will further increase, and it will bring more and more economic prosperity, actually not only in China, but through China to the Belt and Road countries. And talking about this pandemic, as China has, controlled this pandemic through, fantastic way, by containing the people, and taking all preventive measures. So let's hope that in the coming year, or more and more ease of moving people in China, the easiness will increase, and more people globally, they will come to China, and when they will come, they will bring some capital, be it physical, be it human capital, and this will further contribute to the prosperity of China. And through the prosperity of China, of course, all the Belt and Road countries will directly, and the humanity indirectly will be very much beneficial.
For so long, for people who have been actively watching my show and always ask the question as well, how did you get a chance to become smart? And my answer has always been the same, because I am surrounded with smarter people. And Dr. Kahoot, and you are surely one of the intelligent people I know that in my life, and help me to understand a lot more, not just about the growth of China, but also this international relations between Pakistan and China. Brother, I really appreciate your precious time and coming on to my show. And of course, everything that you shared with us has been, again, I said it before, very meaningful and very insightful. Again, it's been an amazing year and it's been a fruitful year. I know your research for your PhD program is going to carry on until next year. So on behalf of my show and on behalf of my family and myself, we want to wish you the best of luck. And again, at the year of 2021, I all want to say it's my great honor to have such a dedicated and intelligent friend